Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. And today you're going to be watching a book review of this book right here, which is The Mamba Mentality by Kobe Bryant. This book was published on October 23rd, 2018. The suggested retail on this one is $35 US and $45.50 Canadian. It's also 206 pages. So let's jump into it. So when I heard that Kobe was going to be coming out with a book, I still wasn't in the whole reading phase. So I didn't pick it up. But as I've said in previous videos, I just recently started reading again in January. So, my girlfriend actually surprised me with this book. So, shout out to her. Thank you for that. But I mean, I feel like I probably would have got this book, regardless, because I did read, not really reviews, but I had seen people talk about the book and they spoke very highly of it. But, this book, one thing I loved about this book, well, I actually loved a lot of things about this book, but one of the things is it wasn't necessarily an autobiography. Like, he did talk about his life, but he didn't talk about his life like, oh, this happened and then this happened and then this happened, kind of like a traditional biography or autobiography. I don't know which one it is, but when the person writes about themselves. So, he didn't really say a lot of that. He started out saying, like when he was a kid and, he started playing basketball and he loved how the ball bounced and how the ball felt. And like, he didn't want to bounce the ball because he didn't want to mess up, the stitching and the grip and, all those types of things. And one of the things that stood out to me very early on in this book was, he said that like God gave us two hands, right? And he felt very uncomfortable using his left hand when playing basketball. So he started doing things with his left hand. He started writing with his left hand. He started brushing his teeth with his left hand. He started doing all these things just to get comfortable, right? Because he said he hated the feeling of being uncomfortable. So, those are the things that that Kobe was doing. And I feel like, he stands out compared to, like, I guess you could say, the new generation of players. Now we have guys during this whole quarantine thing, some NBA players are probably just staying at home playing 2K, doing whatever. Whereas if Kobe was, still here, I can almost guarantee you that he would be in the gym. He would be working out. Like, speaking of workouts, he got up every day at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym. So, those are the things that kind of separated Kobe, I guess you could say, he won 5 rings, so, let's be honest, like, you don't win 5 rings by accident. But, I feel like if he didn't do all that hard work, let's be real. Winning an NBA championship, you don't just, unless you're one of those guys that just sits on the bench, you don't, you're not the star player of an NBA championship team, by accident or by luck. It's because you put in all those hours, you put in all those workouts, you practiced for how many hours a day. Like Kobe said in this book, he worked out 3 times a day. He worked out from 5 a.m. to 7, then he went home from 7 until 11, and then he worked out from 11 to 2, and then he went home from 2 to 6, and then he worked out from 6 to 8. Okay, so he worked out 3 times a day. He lifted weights. I think he said he lifted weights Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And, the rest of the time he was, probably getting up shots. He said that in this book, he said that he would go and lift weights until he could barely even feel his arms. So he's not talking about lifting light weights. He's talking about, really heavy lifting to where, like I said, you can't even feel your arms. And then he would go shoot jumpers. So, that's really the kind of guy he was. Kobe was a gym rat. He was really that guy. And one thing that I found very interesting about this book was so I originally thought that NBA players they worked out once a day and then they just went home and played 2K after or something like that. And granted, some of them probably do. It's just I never knew that some players worked out more than once a day. And maybe that was just Kobe that just did that because that's the guy that he is. But I don't know, for some reason I just never thought of that, you can work out from 8 to 10 and then go home for 2 hours and then work out again. So it's that's one thing I actually learned from this book. One thing that I really like about this book is he gave like the scouting report on all of his opponents that he went up against, and he talked about Reggie Miller, he talked about LeBron, he talked about Kevin Durant, he talked about Gary Payton, he talked about all these guys and what they like to do, what they didn't like to do, and how he would get them uncomfortable. Like he said, LeBron loves contact, so you have to avoid contact with him because obviously LeBron is bigger than Kobe. And he talked about Michael Jordan and he talks about all these guys and Bill Russell and him meeting Jerry West and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Hakeem Olajuwon and all these guys, and it was such a sick thing to me because I've never read a book like this. But then again, there's nobody that knows the game, I guess you could say, like Kobe, or there's nobody that would make a book like this because they wouldn't want to expose themselves, I guess you could say. It's I don't think LeBron would make a book about him going up against Steph. I just don't think LeBron would do that. I don't think any NBA player would do that. Maybe now more players might do it after their career is over because Kobe did it, because Kobe kind of pushed the envelope, or he kind of he paved the way, I guess you could say. So I feel like now we might have a lot more books from NBA players just because of this book right here. The other thing that I really liked about this book were the pictures. There was the guy that took the pictures. I think his name was Andrew. Yeah, Andrew Bernstein. He followed Kobe around for most of his career. I'm pretty sure it was 19 or 20 years. Just taking photos of Kobe. That was his only job. And I'll show some pictures on the screen right now. And some of these pictures are just they're amazing pictures. They're timeless pictures. We're obviously not going to see pictures like these again. And this guy, he had that eye. You know what I mean? I don't even want to know how many pictures he took, because this is probably maybe 250 pictures in this book, and I don't even want to know how many memory cards he filled from bad pictures or stuff that got cut. One thing I would really want to see is all the stuff that got cut from this book, because I feel like it should have just been a raw whatever we have, whatever Kobe wrote, just put a picture with it, and just you can go with it, because I feel like this book, how you read some books and the book just drags on, and it's okay, the book didn't have to be that long. I feel like with this book, even if the book was double the length, so even if it was 400 pages, then it would have been fine, right? Because that's how much I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed reading about it. He talks about his pre-game ritual, and he started off closest to the basket, and he would get up a few shots, and how much he listened to his body. If his body was telling him that he needed to shoot more jumpers, then he would shoot more jumpers. If his body was telling him that he needed to stretch, then he would go stretch. And one thing that I read in this book was he didn't really sleep that much, but he took these little 15-minute interval power naps, and he said that would be good for him. So it's I never there's things that I found out in this book that I never knew of before, say about the life of an NBA player. Because really and truly, I thought NBA players, they get 10 hours of sleep and, all this type of stuff, but it's they really don't get that much sleep. So it's you kind of have to think about it. You're running on 5-6 hours sleep, and you're going to play in an NBA Finals game. It's okay, well, is that even really possible? But, clearly it's possible for these guys, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Kobe, Jordan, all these guys. But it's I thought the life of an NBA player was just, you go and you work out once a day, and then you go home and you play 2K, and you have your chef bring you food, and then you sleep for 10 hours, and then you go to games and you get paid, and that's it. But this book definitely opened my eyes to that. And Kobe was working out 3 times a day, and he was waking up at 3 a.m. and he was going to sleep late, and all these other types of things. He said he liked to go to bed by 9. So 9 to 3 is 6 hours. So this guy won 5 championships running on 6 hours of sleep. So it's definitely a crazy thing. I just skimmed through the book once again really quick, and he talks about all these guys. Chris Paul, Derek Fisher, Yao Ming, like Russell Westbrook, James Harden, all these guys, and it's like, he says what they like, if they like to go left or right. He said that, Russell Westbrook, like, he brings the energy, the tenacity, all those, the passion, like all those other types of things. And he said that he really likes Russell Westbrook's energy. And when he looks at Russell Westbrook, he sees a younger him. And, all these little tidbits of information, I really liked it, and he talks about Shaq and when Shaq left, and obviously Shaq went to Miami, and then they wanted to beat them so bad, and Kobe said that when he won his 5th championship, he was so happy, not because of the 5th championship, but because he had more rings than Shaq, because obviously Shaq only had won 4 rings and Kobe had won 5. But this book is, like, I truly enjoyed this book, almost as much as the Elon book, back there. And, I'm not going to sit here and say that I was a huge Kobe fan since I was a kid and this and that. I had known of Kobe. I had a Kobe jersey. But, growing up, I was always more of a LeBron guy. But, regardless, like, we can't take away his greatness and what he did for basketball. Everybody called him like the next Michael Jordan, all these other types of things. But this guy, his work ethic is second to none. And like I said, I didn't know he worked out 3 times a day. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't read the book. And because there's only certain things that you see from watching the games. And me personally, I wasn't really a person to watch interviews with NBA players and all these other guys. I really and truly, I only cared about the game. I cared about the basketball game, and then after the basketball game was over, that was basically it for me. But he put all these little things in about how like if you went up for a dunk on a guy, how his left hand would like pull your jersey to not give you as much elevation, and then his right hand is contesting you, and little things like that you don't see. And he said that like he would try to lock up other players' arms like on angles where the ref can't see, and it's like I had no idea about these types of things, and how because when you think about it, it's like if the ref can't see it, then I'm not saying it's a good thing, but if the ref can't see it, if the ref doesn't call it, then you play on. But this book it was actually a very good book. I finished this book in 2 days, just because it was only a little bit of writing. I'll show you right now. So right here, this is the most writing that you'll find on a page. And that was pretty much it. Other ones, there was just little paragraphs like this with Bill Russell and Byron Scott. So I finished this book very quickly. Like I said, it was just 2 days. He was talking about how the refs have a difficult job, and really and truly they do. But I don't give them a pass for any of the bad calls. But he talks about playing through pain, and I love these little handwriting elements where he wrote those things, and in the moment, and what he was feeling, and all these other types of things. But this book was, I actually very much enjoyed this book. He talks about Tim Duncan and the Spurs, and right here, it's just like he says right here. He says the Spurs would make you think they would be in air contact, and then they would just back away. And he wrote that, and I love all these little diagrams and the arrows, and all these other types of things. This book was it was actually a very good read. And if you like Kobe, if you're a fan of the Lakers, if you're a fan of basketball, I recommend you picking up this book. Because it gives you insight into things that you don't see, and because like I said before, I didn't know he worked out 3 times a day. I thought he worked out 1 time a day and he went home and he played 2K. But you know, I definitely recommend this book if, like I said, you're a basketball fan, you're a Kobe fan. Obviously, he unfortunately passed away in January of this year, and you know it's pretty sad because he was just starting his next chapter, you know, and obviously he released a book. He released that little short film. I think it was called like Dear Basketball or something like that. Apparently he won an Oscar for it. So, you know, it sucks that it had to get cut short. It was definitely, you know, out of nowhere. And because I remember like I was at home one day and then like my friend Anthony texted me and he's like, yo, like Kobe passed away. I was like, it's a lie, bro. You know, like that's Kobe. Like, you know, Kobe, like this guy just retired. You know, he just released a book of, you know, a little short film. Like, you know, get out of here. And then, you know, unfortunately it happened because, you know, I really would have liked to have seen what he came up with, like after the book and, you know, after that little short. I read that he really liked, you know, like the arts. And stuff like that. So, you know, maybe he would have directed a movie, you know, who knows. But obviously it unfortunately had to get cut short. And, you know, that's that. But, you know, basically to, you know, round everything out, like I said, if you like basketball, if you like, you know, the Lakers, if you like Kobe, if you want to, like, I even learned some things about basketball in this book. But, you know, like I said, overall, I would give this book a solid 8 out of 10. It is definitely a good read. The one thing that I wish is I just wish that it was a longer book, and you know that's not even a bad thing. Like I wish it was a longer book because I wanted to read more. This was one of those books when the book finished, like I was actually like, wow, like I was actually kind of sad for it. Just like when I finished the Elon book over there. You know, I wanted the book to be longer. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, you know, as always, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. It is very much appreciated. I'm currently reading 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. That one is a pretty long book, and you know, it's kind of complicated, so it is taking me a little while longer. So, you know, we'll probably have a regular video next week. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. It was very much appreciated.